Unmute. Okay, you're ready.
Yep, good to go.
We're ready, sir.
Call this meeting to order.
I'll call the budget committee meeting to order.
All right, next on the agenda is pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, next on the agenda, citizens' comments. See none, we'll move right along to the budget presentations, revenue, EMS update. Would you like to come right up? Sure, big guy.
So I'll just take a little bit of your time. I wanted to clear the air. Last week, there was some discussion about while we were in the capital meeting. Obviously some confusion into the bottom line of the capital budget, and there was an expenditure in there that I forgot about, to be honest with you. There was an ambulance accident, April 7th of 2023. So unfortunately, when it came time to pay a bill regarding a rental for an ambulance, we had a rental for quite some time. I think probably has the exact number of days, but it was beyond what the insurance covered. So we had to cover a majority of that bill out of capital. The insurance company has reimbursed some of that, not 100% of it. And another thing to note is that we needed that ambulance. We're a 3-truck service. When we go down an ambulance, we have to cover extra calls. So for instance, the accident happened on a Friday, and 2 days later, we had called CLC, our Damer-Scott mutual aid partner. We called them like 2 or 3 times. So come early the next week, we had a loaner. We got it in service as fast as we could, and we didn't have to call them anymore. So certainly something that we couldn't have lived without, despite being down an ambulance. So that's really all I wanted to do was clear that air. I spoke to some of you individually. I'm humbled. I just kind of skipped.
It crossed fiscal years.
Yeah, yeah.
You're thinking that was the year before.
Yeah. So when
So was I.
it came time to pay that bill, it was well into the next fiscal year. And I think we just kind of did what we had to do and moved on, to be honest with you. And then when it came up in conversation, obviously there was some confusion in the budget meeting. So I just wanted to come up here as a humble chief and just explain that to you guys so that the air is clear and is understanding amongst the masses here. So I apologize for any confusion that may have caused. And when Peg reminded me later on, I was like, yep, exactly. So it just took a week to get back in front of all of you guys in the same room. So any questions anybody has?
Given the experience, should we be looking at leasing instead of buying an ambulance?
Maybe not leasing an ambulance, but I think the discussion that we've been having more is when we go to get a new truck, maybe keeping one that's in the fleet as a spare. If that makes any sense, we ran into an issue where insurance pays for X number of days on a loaner. Unfortunately, because of the way of the world, the repairs took longer than we would have expected for one. And honestly, the repairs were beautiful. When it came back, it was like a brand new truck, which is what we were going for, obviously post accident. But the truth is it just took a long time. And so we have discussed since then, especially with the addition of our own town mechanics, maybe trying to keep a truck, at least able to fill into that void. If we did have another event where we were down a truck for a prolonged period of time. Typically, if a truck goes out, it goes out for a day or two, the repairs. I mean, even when Hillside was taking care of us, they turned us around as fast as they could, but this was months. I mean, we got the truck back and truck went out in April. The accident was April 7th to be exact, and we didn't get it back until, goodness, it was mid-August, late August. So, and that was actually a quick turnaround, all things considered, but we were down for a long time. So the conversation has been more, maybe we keep a spare somewhere in our fleet that just doesn't run every day, but maybe hangs out somewhere in the public works garage and stays, reasonably usable, and we can put it right back in service in the event that we're down a truck for a long period of time.
Would you
say the same thing if the federal government mandated a timetable for replacing ambulances, say one every 5 years as opposed to 7 or 10 years? I mean, if we were facing that as a mandate,
Sure.
would it then not make more sense? Possibly. People say that's coming down the road.
Sure, yeah, sure. I don't, that's a good question, Bob. I'd have to look into it. You know, I don't hear of a lot of departments leasing their ambulances. But it's not something I'm willing to look into it, see what it looked like, you know what I'm saying?
What was the cost of the lease per day?
So 45 days is what the.
Insurance company,
Yeah, but I was
Covered,
wondering
and that's
how many-
$250 a day, which is $11,250 was what was covered. An additional 100 days were required at $250 a day, so that's 25,000. That wasn't covered under the insurance.
We make it 10 years?
no, not anymore.
No.
7 is the new going rate.
Still talking over 500,000 versus 300.
Right,
And there's also there's still a subrogation piece.
there
for
is.
the claim
Yep.
that we're waiting on because there was another party involved and we weren't at fault. But we were still on the hook for the.
I think
invoice.
the truth is that could go on for who knows how long. That's why we.
And I reach out to them every couple of months and they still have had no movement, so.
So, and just also for this group to know, you know, that, as with any accident, that we have with one of our vehicles, it's heavily investigated within our department. You know, any law enforcement agency, you know, investigates it as they need to, but we changed some policy because of it. We were not at fault, as Peg said, but it was still worth looking into our procedures and policies. Just because that's you know, we review them regularly anyways, as Bob could vouch for, but yeah,
And we needed the third rig.
absolutely, yeah, we certainly are a 3
especially
truck
going into the
services.
summer.
Yeah, yep,
So, historically, in the past, we have a ambulance that we're taking out of service. Are we trading that in towards a new one or selling that outright to Autotronics or?
so we actually have just sold it outright. On the internet it goes. We did, for a while, we kept 4, you know, so we would just, I have to look at the track record. I think we've just sold them outright to anybody who gives us the
Last ambulance, which was the van type,
the Sprinter.
the
Yep, yep,
Sprinter.
yep, yep.
We actually sold, it was our first item we sold on the auction website and it went to Mexico.
Yes, yes, it
And-
did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mexico, the country.
Yeah, yeah.
And I believe we got more money than we'd ever sold an ambulance for before.
They don't hold a lot of really good trade value, to be honest with you. I mean, you know, I think,
A third of the cost, maybe?
no, no,
Not even close.
no.
But no, I think,
No.
we got like 18,000 and
Yeah.
that was a win.
And the Sprinter, sorry, the Sprinter, typically is a little, less expensive.
Okay.
But, you know, the trucks that we buy now, they're $300,000. So, you know, we end up getting, you know, really nothing you know, but there is, I think, changing the life cycle of the trucks may improve that a little bit too. They,
Right, so I mean, so if you think about, if you only get $18,000 to $95,000 for you know, a vehicle that we're selling, you look at the cost of leasing a vehicle, it makes sense to keep that extra vehicle because it pays for itself in the end
Right.
for just 25 days out of service. So, yeah, I mean, that's a great point that you made.
so and that was kind of our initial thought was more so than leasing the ambulances that we run every day, more like keeping a spare, you know, ready to rock and roll. And it really doesn't have a whole ton of cost as long as the ambulance is in decent enough shape. You know, if it just kind of sits and, you know, we can keep the salt and sand and that sort of stuff off of it and, you know, run it periodically. But if, again, like you said, and we talked about that, Julie and I did, like we're when they,
sharing it, you had all these different.
right, when
We
they,
talked about, could we rent it out to somebody else who was in the same situation?
Yeah.
and then Derek and Peg went, no, you know, but no, if, you know, it's, so those are on things on our radar. You know, but I do think also just decreasing their life a little bit, may also help us in the resale world as well. You know, you may be able to sell an ambulance for, you know, not 75, 80 grand if it's got 3 years of life left and it's worth $300,000, you know, so. But, yep,
If we had a spare ambulance, which makes sense, I guess, but what about the equipment in the ambulance?
so it would be my goal to. Equipment's movable, which is nice, right? So like if we do go, so. We go back and forth where it's like, do we want to keep enough equipment to have 4 trucks stocked, ready to rock and roll? At a moment's notice, I think that's not the way to do it. I think the way to do it is keep an empty truck. Move everything from truck A to the spare truck, in the event we're gonna be down for a significant amount of time.
So everything would be transferable.
Absolutely. Even more so in the next trucks because I'm buying the same exact rigs that it's my goal to make the fleet interchangeable as far as, and that's for our providers, right? If they hop in, they go to grab a BVM, you know, they grab it from this cabinet in this truck and this cabinet in this truck, it's the same thing, right? So the trucks now are set up a little differently, so there's a little bit of, you know, variant there, but so it's interchangeable. The equipment goes from one truck to the next.
The stretchers and other equipment can be transferred easily,
Absolutely. Yep.
so you don't have to buy.
Right, correct. Or, you know, if a stretcher gets damaged, we actually have, they can actually loan us a stretcher, but we have some spares as well, right? So, you know, when our stretcher was involved in this accident, you know, the first thing I did was call Stryker and say, it was involved in an accident. Can someone come and look at it? And they took a look at it for us. It was fine. So.
Any questions?
Yeah, I'm just curious, did the repairs extend the life of the vehicle at all, or?
Cosmetic, was it?
It was all cosmetic. And,
Did for what, 100 days, 100?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
What did extend, that's what I was gonna say. What did extend the life of the truck is the downtime.
Yeah,
But once I get back here, you know, the thing is, the term beating on them is a hard term to use, but we use them. They get used, they work hard. So no, I mean, the downtime, like Abden said, certainly, you know, prolonged it a little bit probably, but no. It was cosmetic. They had to replace pieces of the box and that sort of thing. There was a bend in that patient compartment that they thought was gonna maybe total the truck. And we're like, let's not, right? So they were able to work it out and they did Autotronics and it actually went to Frenchville, Maine. So it went to Bangor. And then it went to, and what worked out well, kudos to Hillside and their flatbed guy. He took our truck to Bangor. Bangor had our loaner. We were trying to figure out how to get the loaner home, and I was like, don't send that flatbed back empty, put that loaner on it, and they brought it back to us that same day, so I didn't have to send anybody up there, it worked out really well, so. I mean, it was, as smooth as things could go, I never want to experience any one of those incidents again, but it went smoothly, and Autotronics did a fantastic job with the repair, and nobody got badly hurt, so.
yeah, one more question. What was the net effect on the capital account?
I think it was about 30.
About $30,000. We
Okay,
got
that
60
makes sense from the
Yep.
numbers.
That's where that discrepancy, we think,
Yeah.
sort of came up.
And I still hope we'll get it back.
Yeah, we're still hopeful that eventually, if the dust settles between the insurance companies, we'll get, but. So,
Great, well, thank you.
you're welcome. Thank you guys for your time. Appreciate it. Yep.
Don't think we even started revenue, am I right?
I don't think so.
Page 48 under general fund. So page 48, this is under the Office of Select Board. The first two items you see are reimbursement for the county tax, and this is Friendship and Cushing's portion of the tax that we pay to Lincoln County for, the recycling portion of our county tax. The next you will see legislative is, our franchise fees from our cable television. And we reduced that down since there seems to be as we learned during LCTV's presentation, less people going to cable. And, the other is water department. As you know, the water department is a part of the town. And we do get reimbursed, a portion for, the insurance.
So Lincoln County's on a different fiscal year from us. How do we prorate the money that we're due?
This is always due in November, so we always pay their bill in November.
And we have the information by then anyway.
I usually get it right after we print the budget book. Same thing with the franchise fees. We got the franchise fees right after we did, and the Lincoln County budget.
The next on page 49 is.
Before we go past. The transfer station reimbursement, does that match up to an expense on the transfer station or come out of one of the expenses?
It comes out of county taxes.
Where is it?
That would be it's not in here yet because they have to strike their rate.
Oh, okay, so it's not
It's,
in the budget
it's,
that we
in-
looked at for the transfer
no,
station.
no,
Okay.
because this is county taxes.
Do we have revenue from the transfer station, from the town of Friendship and Cushing that this comes out of?
That is the revenue on page 48.
This is the money we get from.
That's
those
the
towns.
money we get from those towns
Oh, on top of,
Top of the rest.
on the
The-
top of the rest of it.
okay,
Because we pay the taxes to the county out of the general fund. It gets reimbursed through the general fund through revenue.
okay. And where's the line where we pay the taxes or you said that was not in here?
Well, it's page 43. But the number is 0 there because we don't have that number yet, or it came in after the book.
Okay. So will there be a number here
Once,
goes on the ballot?
well, once we know. No, we don't vote on the county taxes,
We just.
per
have to
se.
pay.
yes.
Yeah, okay.
So there's no question on the ballot.
There's no question about your county taxes.
Do we want to?
So I think we put that as a line item as well.
If we did. So is everybody clear on that one?
So sorry, is it reflected in the budget total?
So
That we pay
eventually
for
you'll get a
that.
budget total, and that's how we strike our mill rate. But we can't even strike that rate till sometime in June.
So until
I
we know
mean,
the
not
county,
July, August.
county taxes in the school
So
budget,
the school budget isn't until June. We won't
Right.
even. 'cause
but
it-
those two items
Those
are
two
out.
items get applied when it comes to doing the mill rate that we normally do in late July, early August.
Okay,
Because a lot of times we don't have that number to put in there when the book is being published, this book.
so are these numbers from Friendship and Cushing, they are known now, even though we don't know the total county tax? Or is,
So this is what we calculated on. We do our best guess for that number.
It's consistent for the last,
It's
Several
consistent for the
years.
last several years, because we've anticipated, we've been doing pretty good with that. It's,
okay,
yeah, I would say 23 and 24. We've been really, really consistent.
okay. Thank you.
Office of the Town Manager, $5,400 is reimbursed from the Water Department, and that goes towards salary of the Town Manager. Assessment revenue, we don't budget for because only a little bit comes in. So we typically don't budget for that or anticipate it. Page 51 is a very fun page most of the time. If you'll notice, you'll see real estate taxes. Again, our initial has a 0 in it because we don't know what it's going to be because we're currently working on the budget. And the same goes for personal property taxes. We did anticipate $1 million for our automobile excise taxes. We feel confident in that number based on what we've received so far this year. Same thing with watercraft excise taxes. We went up $250 in that, and that's also based on what we got last year and what we're looking at this year. Interest on taxes and liens. We took that down $9,000 because we did not hit our mark last year. Tax liens and costs, we did hold that reasonably steady. I think we only went up like $97.
Can you go back up to interest on taxes and tax liens? Can you
Yes,
go back up there? Bank interest rates are high right now, higher than they were last year. Do we have a lower balance in the account that's account?
no, this is the interest that we charge to people who
Oh,
are,
that we interest, they charge down.
It's what
Okay,
we
this
charge.
isn't interest on,
correct, it's
Okay.
4%.
gotcha.
That, to me, that's an indicator that people pay the tax. Put as many liens on it, not as much.
So some, yes and no. I would say that it is an indicator that people, you can't really go for that from that because the year before it's the interest rate that we can charge is set by the state. So I think the year before it was what, Peg, 6%,
It
Or-
was 4 to 6%.
4 to 6%. So there's
6%.
been some variant there. So the same people might have been in, but it went down to 4%. Now this year it's going up to 8%. So,
Hmm.
but I can get you numbers on where we are compared to other years with the taxes. Amusement permits, bowling alley permits, they're self-explanatory. Development permits. I just wanted to point out to you that, if you'll look back in 2023, there was a large increase and everybody got giddy about that. And I reminded everybody it was because we had a solar farm and those
Right.
were the development permits for that. If you'll see, it's in 2024, it's come back down to reasonably normal. And we are on track to meet that. That's that number. One new thing that we do have is we have, a new thing is marijuana licensing fees that we had not budgeted to receive before. And we have budgeted to at least receive one out of the 2 that we have in town. Municipal revenue sharing. We budgeted the number that we were told we would be getting. Historically, we've gotten more. I keep hoping that they're going to raise that municipal revenue sharing number up based on anything that the legislature and the governor might do, but I'm not seeing that coming our way. Notice I'm looking at you.
I haven't heard anything.
Okay. So that we anticipated that fully. We always anticipate the veterans exemptions. We do.
Did we Did we budget anything in anticipation of getting reimbursed for tax utilization that's been discontinued, but the state has?
Yes,
Agreed to pay us for
the
that.
bill has been passed.
Right.
Yeah,
There was
I haven't
15
seen it, so I'm not gonna budget
No,
for
I
it.
don't, fair enough. 'Cause we're already- I think Daryl said 68,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've already checked into that and passed that bill.
Yep.
And I think they said that we set aside 15 million for that. Right. To make towns whole. Okay. Yeah, no, it is coming. It might not be until June before we see it, but it is.
That's good. We have the budget.
I haven't budgeted. I'll believe it when we get the
Right.
check.
You do that.
The tree growth exemption, is a good idea to budget, we've been budgeting for that. Finance revenue, again, this is the water department reimbursing 20% of the auditor costs, and 5% of the finance director's salary. Our investment income, again, we were very conservative with that.
Yeah.
It's an unknown going forward, and I don't wanna,
Interest rates are dropping.
I'm really nervous about that, actually.
yeah,
I'm afraid it's too high. This,
At
this.
65.
Yeah, just because it's like, we're in the money right now, but I just know what goes up comes down. And I was nervous predicting that. Because I don't know when it's gonna go down.
What investment?
This
Bonds,
is, this is
bonds.
our cash interest bearing accounts through our local bank. Plus, if we start using more fund balance, we'll have less interest coming. in.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask.
BMV registration fees, this is the fee that we get for handling, all the registrations. We're secure in that number. And the boat registration fees and ATV fees. Next, on page 53 is our EMS revenue. This first line is for
We don't
Right.
budget the first two lines, but I started adding that when we started billing the towns separately. So that we could have the bucket for it, and then, so you'll see, like, what we got in for those two at the end of the year should be what we bill. But we still just budget the one line item.
Yes, we do. So the EMS revenue, that includes our Friendship bill, our Jefferson bill, our Warren medic bill, and also any mutual aid that we budget for there. And all of our transfers and our EMS actual calls for service.
You expect 102,000.
Yes. And part of that is, if you'll recall, about, I was gonna say about last month, but it's April now. I believe it was in January or December, Chief Booker came before the select board and we did increase, because Medicare had increased rates, we increased rates.
I remember.
So part of that is that, and it's also an increase because the budget's increased, an increase in the bill to both Friendship and Jefferson, which he has already emotionally prepared both Friendship and Jefferson.
Well, the age TMS revenue, it's a small amount, but I'm guessing that's collections we're realizing on stuff that has to.
Yes.
That's what we get in from our collection agents.
That's kind of just the estimate based on.
Yes.
Well, they don't put it.
There's nothing in there.
There's nothing in there. So that number is what we
You've
collect.
got.
Right, we don't put in-
You've got actual year to date in there, $2,700. Right, okay. Thank you.
I'm sorry about
Yeah.
that.
So John Burgess is not here tonight, but he had asked to
I was
that
just
his
pulling that email up.
his concerns of how the aged revenue was accounted for, whether that included items that were not expected to ever be collected or not. How much of that was,
So the collection policy says we write off if something's 2 years old and nothing's been collected on it. So currently, at Comstar being billed currently. We have $268,433.33. And
In collections.
no, that's at our billing company. In collections, we have $117,510.06. So for a total of outstanding $385,943.39. And since we started the write-offs, that. I always say it's right around $400,000 is what we have outstanding. Now, some of that could be in collections. What will happen is when those years switch, because when John had asked for the report, it was 91 to 120 days. He wanted better clarification of, well, what are those years look like? So we had to have them run a special report for just us.
Yeah.
So,
So you talked to him directly about what he was looking for
correct.
ferreting out what we never will receive,
Well,
What's
you
not
know,
expected to be
but the
received.
problem is that they could be at collections and we could say we wrote it off, and if we do write it off and all of a sudden a payment comes, because believe it or not, that can happen 2 years later. It
Yeah,
sounds crazy. We have currently at collections from a 2021 bill, $1,565 and a penny, that from what I've been told is somebody paying $5 a month.
Hmm.
You know, and they don't want it, but you know, they believe they owe it and they want to do the right thing. And they send in their check. So, it can, if we do get a payment for something that has been in collections and we've written off, it goes back into the cycle. That doesn't happen very often, but believe it or not, we've had some of these insurance claims go longer than a year.
Hmm.
I don't know if you've ever
That's
had,
just an insurance claim.
that's just an
They're gonna
insurance
pay,
claim,
they can just return it.
right, or the, you
Or
know, they
someone deceased, or, you know, there's.
they
things-
deny
there's
it
all kinds of
or
scenarios.
something. So that's where we're at with that. So we broke it down into those years.
Anybody get more questions about that?
And John apologizes. He was visiting his grandchildren for Easter and he cannot be here tonight.
Accepted.
Yes.
hopefully he's having a better time than we
Um,
Not that this is bad, but.
page 54 is fire services. We had been, doing fire billing for calls and processed claims.
Doesn't
we-
come out of the account though.
Oh, that's not the right one.
No,
Sorry.
that's a capital revenue.
Yeah,
Fire bill.
I got you. That was my bad. I saw the $360 there. Police services on page 55. Concealed weapons permits, court fees and fines, but police revenue here. This is our school resource officer and we are reimbursed from the school for that expense.
I'm
And
sorry.
special details, sporting events.
Is that enough? Reason I say because as you recall, we had Chief in here talking about his budget. Made some changes, so we should make some changes here,
It's reflected.
distribute that.
But we don't have any control over that. That's the school. That's the school.
So every
No, no.
every year I send them the bill and it's like the actual, like what someone makes
It's an
per hour. What the breakdown would be for whatever their health insurance situation cost is for the town. Whatever the pension or non-pension costs are to the town, all of those things are broken down by hour. And they actually get a budget. As soon as we're done, the school gets a budget, so they know what their daily rate will be for the SRO. And then we bill the school
Right.
based on the.
You got a number here in this book that was printed prior to us having.
I know, it's like anything else, we just use our best.
How
to
about,
judge.
how are we determining what we're charging the RSU for equipment? We got a cruiser sitting up there, we bill them out per day for a piece of equipment.
We've talked
That's
about
not, that's
that,
not, that's just not the salary and the way, and the benefits. We also.
so
have to-
we bill the school right now for just the personnel costs. If there was a special detail that was like a private event, I'm not talking about the school in general. John and I have talked about that you would have the cruiser costs or anything else, but. Historically, we've only billed the school for personnel.
We should be billing them for the equipment too. We got a police car sitting up there idle all day. It's a thought.
What is the detail rate other than school resource officer? What is-
We're all gonna
It's
pay
time
for
and a
it.
half. It's time and a half, just plus all of the other benefit costs,
Time and a half plus,
based on their regular rate, where they're at.
plus equipment,
No
cruiser,
equipment, and no vehicle.
Would mileage be enough?
Not my. $40,000 vehicle sitting out there with all the equipment in it.
well, most agencies, it's the hourly rate plus equipment. So whatever that,
The select board can take that up and meet with the chief and determine what they'd like to see in that rate. But I would just leave the revenue right where it is, because I don't want to get,
that may
Overly
further
zealous.
discussion.
yeah, I would think that's but it's a great idea.
Work on that, Joe. Well, sorry.
Would their counter to that be, well, we'll just give a guy right up, bring the cruiser back to the town office, you guys can have it down there, and we'll have your guy up there.
That's not gonna-
Absolutely not.
No,
No, can't do
I
that.
can't do
That, there,
that.
you know, it's like taking, well, you know, we've gone through this with SAD 40 back before the school resource officer. They didn't want an officer there with a gun, and the officer needs to have his equipment there.
Mhm.
You know, you don't want to take the fire, you know, we'll have a firefighter on scene, but we're not going to take the truck up. You know, if they, you know, that's a discussion the selectmen need to have.
I just wanted to ask the question.
But no, I mean, that's appropriate, but I mean, an officer needs to have his equipment there.
Makes sense.
I have no problem having that discussion, but that should be had at the select board level. But I would just say, this is on the revenue side. I'd like to leave a little bit of room for the revenue to, I don't want to fully anticipate all the revenue, because that's how we've been building fund balance. Does that make sense to you? I'm looking at John and he's not.
Oh, we can take care of that.
A lot about that.
Yeah.
It out in the other world.
Yeah, as of right now, we don't know if we will
You
get
got a
it.
plumber come to your house, what you're paying is not just for that plumber, you're paying for equipment.
And I'll be honest with you, on special details, like there are people who, you know. We have other special details, they're not being charged for that either, so. It would be a whole new policy.
And I understand it, it's gonna come out of our pocket one way or another, but.
Well, some of it-
Divided
But
by-
SAD
divided by 5
But
ways.
it's SAD 40, it's not just Waldeboro.
No, it's five ways. That's what
And
it's
it's not just police, because the EMS covers sporting events too.
Right.
So it's a good conversation.
It's a great conversation.
Hmm.
Shellfish management, these are the fees that are paid, that's on page 56, by the shellfish harvesters and support the shellfish budget. Did I say something? Shellfish budget. And this is based on the number of licenses and what we've experienced in the past.
Is that based on the new fee changes that year?
Yes. Page. $58, we don't have any technical public works revenue to speak of. We might get something.
$600.
Random, so we don't even budget that. General assistance, that typically is what we get reimbursed. Again, that depends on how much we spend on what we get reimbursed. So if we're not spending it, we don't get reimbursed as much. And I think you'll see really a point where you can see the community navigator really working. This is a great example because we were in 23 reimbursed $5,200 and in 24 only $584.21. So we are finding resources for the people who need it in other ways than general assistance. Very proud of that.
Yes.
Great.
62, planning and development fees. Plumbing fees, this is what our CEO does for plumbing inspections and septic inspections. And planning and code revenue. I don't think that's a line that we use anymore, Peg, correct?
Correct. And actually, in the 2024 year to date, I looked into that because I thought it looked a little funny. So the reason that has a negative, under the planning code revenue, was because of a septic grant that we had put through. I had to make a correction and it didn't go through. But anyway, the reason it was like that is because of, we're anticipating being reimbursed from the state for, a septic that was done in November of 2023, so.
And that was done with the grant through the state of Maine.
So we just paid for it, we just wait for the grant.
Yeah, yeah.
Develop.
And then, on page 63, transfer in general fund, the highway block grant, this is the transfer in, so we expect the, revenue from the transfer highway block grant that we did the expenditure for. And then we have our favorite topic, utilization of fund balance. But we'd want to have that fun conversation today.
Well, on the recreation department, there are no revenues. They have their own account.
They have their own, that's yes, that's their enterprise.
Yeah.
I believe Peg put out before you latest update, and if you look on your blue sheet that was in front of you, you can see that we have a 19.8 increase. And I know at the last meeting, we talked a lot about fund balance and what we should use and how much we have, and everybody had a good ideas, and I just wanted to let you know we explored some of those ideas. So, if we were to make up the difference, the entire difference as the budget stands now with fund balance, that would leave us with 83.46 days of fund balance left. And that seems like a great idea, except for the fact that when we modeled the 2026 budget, and we modeled this, Peg, correct me anytime I'm wrong. We modeled this with no increases, and you know, next year there's gonna be increases. And we took out stuff that was in the, that we wouldn't be doing again in capital. And I will tell you that this also includes the purchase of a truck, fire truck next year. Next year's increase, if we use what we typically use, which is around $210,000 of fund balance, we'd be at 48.33% increase in the budget. So it doesn't, you know, if we're using a lot of fund balance this year,
We ain't got it for next year.
we don't have it for next year. When I forecasted what we might be bringing in from the budget in unexpended balances when we end this year and potential excess revenue, I'm at about comfortably, and this is conservative because I'm never gonna see happiness when I do this. $454,000 that we would add then to the fund balance. So, you know, that's just me being extremely conservative. In the past, I will tell you, in the past couple of years, we've put almost $1 million out of unexpended
Back in.
and excess revenue. But what scares me is we've pushed our revenue, knowing it was a bad budget year. We've pushed that a little higher than we normally do. We're a little less conservative because we knew it was a rough year. But I get freaked out I don't want our taxpayers to pay any more than they have to. But I don't want to give them a happy year and then next year crush them. I'm afraid to do that. But that being said, we have alternatives. So I just want to give you a little history. In 2011, the town had $59,642 in their fund balance. In 2017, when I first arrived, we had 1,101,592. So, you know, we've come a long way from where we were, and we haven't gone under 1 million in a long time, and I don't want to set us up for failure where we have all these expenditures and we keep going to fund balance and we don't have another revenue stream coming in because eventually your fund balance goes away. I'm nervous about doing that. And I did have one other, I had somebody ask me if we could go, what 120 days would look like. And that would leave us with $3,658, $3,658,080. But we have other options, so go ahead.
Okay, my first question is, next year, the capital budget, because of mostly the fire truck is very significantly higher than this year. And then after that, we have, for the second fire truck, we also have a very high year in 2028 projected, which will probably
It would
be
probably be
pushed off
2031.
31. Yeah, but does your projection include paying cash for the fire truck versus financing it?
Well, that would depend what you guys want to do. If we finance the fire truck, you're looking at about $230,000 in interest. So that
Total over how many years?
over 7 years.
7 years.
So, you know, your $1 million fire truck becomes a $1.2 million fire truck. And I have to point this out, and I wish Paul was, but I guys and girls, we bought a $1 million ladder truck in 2020. You're looking at potentially buying another $1 million fire truck. And then in 2031, buying another. That's in 11 years. That's a lot of money. And I'm not saying that that's not a reflect, it's just, we have to think long and hard about that kind of money. We have 4 engines and a ladder truck. And I think before we make these decisions, and I said this the other night while Paul was here, I think there has to be a special meeting where we sit down and we talk about this. We have to have a conversation about this. I don't want you thinking that if we don't replace engine 3, there's not going to be fire engines showing up at your house. I don't want that thought out there. I think we need to sit down and have a conversation and say, what does the town need and what can the town afford? I think it's really important we do that. And it's not about liking one department over another, or well, that department got funded or this department didn't. It's about having that serious conversation. We have people who do struggle to pay their taxes. And, you know, every day we hear stories, you hear them, we feel them, and we want to make sure we're doing the right thing. I think some of the concerns that have been expressed by the budget committee are legitimate. We have to have, what should that truck, we need to sit with their truck committee and find out, well, what was your theory behind that? What were you thinking when you thought about this next engine? There's been a lot of questions about something smaller might be more apropos for the department. And I think, you know, we're going to want to include some of the people who, if you want to have John Daigle there, John Daigle had some, you know, opinions about some of the vehicles. I think that you're going to want input from a majority of people before you commit to buying 3 trucks in 11 years. That's a huge ask of any community. So I just think that for us to be totally transparent, and I'm sure if Paul were here, he would totally agree with what I'm saying. We have to make the case to the public. And that requires us doing our homework. And, you know, $1 million. I remember sitting through the meetings after we did the purchase of the ladder truck. I had I don't know, well, you, 1, 2 will remember this. We sat here and a former select board member came and spoke against it, and a former fire chief came. And I want to be prepared if what we're doing needs to make sense, and we need to have those types of discussions, and we have to have those hard discussions and ask those hard questions, because the public, believe it or not, is going to come and ask those questions. And we did a lease purchase before. And the town can do that. And people were upset that we did it that way. We did it because we didn't do it to subvert the voter. What we did is we did it because it was the best deal and it was the best way to finance it. But I think we need to make it very clear to the public, even if we do a lease purchase again, I think the public needs to be made aware of that. And I think we should put it on because the public's going to expect that this time. I think everything that we did with the ladder truck was absolutely above board, and we made the best decision for the town. It worked out beautifully because we were able to restructure that debt, and it lowered the actual end cost. But I think we learned a lot I personally learned a lot from that when we went through that process, and I'm sure you two would agree that we did. But so I just think we have to be prepared. That's what I'm saying is it's really easy to sit here and say, and I think all of you want to give when people come up and ask, when our department heads come up and ask, we want to say yes to everything. But sometimes we just have to take our time with it. And I understand that they get more expensive as we wait, but we have to have that conversation, you know, because buying 2, you know, 1 this year or next year, and then again in 31, that's very close to having that amount of money spent. Billy had his hand up and I just kept going because I'm a long-winded person.
Well, I just want to say you're 100% spot on, Julie. And for people that don't know, I did this job for 33 years over across what? Did it with Mr. Blodgett for quite a few years. Fire trucks are bigger. Now, if you take that in consideration, I think we all can go around this room and think of somebody that lives off the beaten path, where a big, huge fire truck's not gonna go. So, as Julie said, there's some serious in-depth discussion that needs to be had. A pump is a pump. Okay? To fight fire, you gotta have water. You gotta have manpower. Now, that pump can be on a custom built truck made by Chevrolet or a custom chassis that may only cost $300,000. I was a PS man. Hey, I lived through the flat nose Chevrolet pickup truck and the International old engine 4, the old Army tanker that we used to have. So when we got a new PS truck, it was like, oh wow, this is so cool. But there are a lot of money. $1 million is a lot of money. When you can possibly buy a fire truck, that's going to be a lot less by not having it be PS or an E1. So as Julie said, it needs to be really in-depth, serious conversations.
And I think Paul is starting to assemble all of that information that we asked him to. that the committee asked him to about other options. So I think, like I said, if we could schedule a separate meeting to have that discussion.
And if a lot of people remember Dick Townsend, remember Dick Townsend?
Hmm.
I can hear him now at town meeting saying, let's not put the cat before the horse. You need manpower. You need manpower. And that's the issue they had. That's the big problem. Okay, they got nice fire trucks up there. Fire anywhere in town, but if you don't have the manpower, what good's another $1 million truck sitting up?
And I think too, I think it's really important to hear what the truck committee, because the members were here that night. And none of them spoke, but I think it would be really good to hear their input also. And give them the opportunity to be heard, because like I said, they may have thoughts too that they would love to share with you. And I think it's important that we hear what they have to say. I'm just, as I sat there today, last week, a little bit on Friday and then yesterday and today. And I'm trying to figure out how to make this work and not hurt too badly. That's something that I think we have to have a conversation about. So that being said, I did some other things to try. Okay.
I don't know the answers. Just when I see 19.8%. School's gonna be 10% plus. County's 9%. Who's gonna get the phone calls on?
You.
We all are. I can't tell you how many times. When was our anniversary thing downtown last year? June what? Whatever date it was.
Yeah, you,
In that driving rainstorm,
Yeah.
walking up and down with the crowd. More people came and talked to me about taxes. I just came on the select board like 2 weeks before that. I was getting blasted with tax questions. And they were mostly the elderly, which is a lot of our population. The folks that they're struggling with the taxes, and when they get their tax bill, of course, we just had that reassessment a couple of years ago. At some point here in the near future, we have to reassess our land values. Daryl's talked to us about that too. That's gonna be coming up.
So. I don't know the answers either, and Pierce versus Chevy versus E1 versus whatever. We have to, I don't know whether we can form the select board can appoint a committee to research and have subject matter experts on what the best truck is for this community. If it's a Pierce, it's a Pierce. I heard John Daigle talk about. But I think it needs, I don't know whether we have to select a committee to look at what is the best. That would utilize a fire truck for this town for the longest period of time and be the most cost effective. I don't think anyone on this committee can say, Chevy versus Ford, but the bottom, versus Pierce versus E1. I don't know what the hell that is, but the thing is, well, but have to do deep research on who has that particular truck for a community this size, the demographic or the geographic area that we have that would serve us best. That's just my thoughts, I guess talking about Paul's like he doesn't want to, I don't think he wants to make the decision, but he said that the one that he wants to replace can only take 2 people. The new truck he wants, he takes 6 people. So does that mean that we don't have to worry about buying the next truck? But that's the case, somebody's gonna make that decision. Because if he's got room in this new truck. And he's got more water, he doesn't need another truck. In theory.
because he's got room in this new truck for 4 more people.
Right, and engine, if I may, engine 3 is not their primary truck, attack truck. So that's gonna be a reserve backup tank truck. Call it whatever you want. So all you need is a driver and a rider. If that, sometimes if you've got a good driver, he can drive it there, get it hooked up, relay, draft, all by himself. That's a special
And
man.
that's why I asked this question, looking at you.
Unless I haven't gone out and looked at engine 3 in a while, I think it's a big bench seat, still in engine 3, Brandon. Okay,
There's 2 rear seats.
oh, I'm not talking the rear, the cab.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It's a bench
Yeah, I
seat,
haven't
right?
been in the cab on.
Bench seat and a driver. So you got the driver now. Bench seat may only hold me and Derek Reed. But the bench seat could hold 3 Brandons, so you got 4 guys. Right? No, I'm serious.
Oh, yeah.
Let's-
I don't know what, I don't know the,
Be realistic.
yeah, I don't know the.
The
base of
back
truck.
jump seats where it's just a bar holding them in place. Yes, I get that they can't do that. But that truck's not a primary truck.
Well, I guess my point is that I'm not qualified to sit here and say what truck is, and I heard a lot of talk about OSHA requirements coming down that line. I don't, unless I misunderstood it, we don't want to buy a truck that may not fit the regulations whenever, if that ever comes along. I don't know all about that, but like I said, I don't know whether the select board needs to appoint a committee to research in depth and make a recommendation to the select board and the budget committee. I don't have the answer to it.
And their truck committee may have already done all of that.
And that they're very important in that.
Yeah.
Well, and
So the only question I have is, having a 6-person truck, how often do we have 6 firefighters here at the same time jumping in the same truck?
Oh, yeah, we take 2 trucks now. Yes. I mean, I've gone, well, the night that I was here, 6 of us went in the ladder truck to Whitefield.
All
And,
in one truck?
yeah.
It was a
Yeah.
structure.
They're probably pretty damn glad to see us. but
Yes.
Just in case.
there's a chimney fire was.
I just,
Oh,
I
we're not gonna make that decision tonight. No, absolutely not.
just know that
No.
there's been times where Paul has been that, where it shows up in a personal vehicle, they need one guy to get the truck there.
Well,
that's not our fault.
Right, that's a whole different issue.
That's different.
That'd be a pole. That's all.
I've been to one of those and it's a cluster.
Yeah.
You can't get the trucks in because the pickups are everywhere. I mean, it's a nightmare. What I will say is if OSHA implements all of the regulations they've got on the book, this is all mute. We might as well not even talk about it because we'll lose 2/3 of the fire department. They won't be able to pass the physicals properly.
Plus the mental.
No, I mean, they're really
Plus the
scared.
mental. Don't forget the mental part.
I think too, that opens up another thing. If you're gonna have to replace fire trucks every 15 years.
Yep.
The reason you buy a Pierce is because they last longer than 15 years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a lot, but I think it's worth the discussion. I think it's definitely one we have to have.
Well, I just think this is making very clear to me that discussions about fund balance and what we're gonna need or not gonna need are surrounded with uncertainty.
Nebulous.
And I feel a lot safer having a buck in the bank than doing something else with it. And until the situation clarifies, maybe it'll be clear next year. We'll know better, but we will not have let the money out of the bank either. We will have had something available to rely on if we need it. If we don't, then we have options. I don't see that we have options at this point, and I share John's concern about the 19%.
Mike,
Yeah. Is there any possibility that to get the additional fire crew that can't come, is there any possibility of using the EMT fly? What do they call it, a fly car?
Mike, they don't have the people right now.
Well,
That's part of the problem. They don't have the
Well,
personnel.
I understood, but why do you need a 6-man when you could get a 2-seater fire truck? Maybe you get the 1,600 gallons, I don't know, thousands, it's served well for a long time.
This truck.
And you use the EMT fly truck flight car to get the rest of the crew to the fire.
So
No, when you sit into it, when you sit into a seat in a fire truck, your breathing apparatus is behind you. You're putting on your breathing apparatus on the way to the fire. When you get out of that truck, you're ready to go into that burning building. I mean, that's, all of this stuff is built into the seats. So, you wouldn't want to get into the fly car wearing what these guys are wearing. I mean, ask these guys, they won't. You don't want to get in your pickup truck even, if you can help
Well,
it.
you wouldn't be able to wear it. That's why you throw it in the back of the body. After you get on scene, then you put it on.
But when you get in the trucks, your SCBA stuff is built into the seat. So you get out of the truck and you're wearing it. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it, and these guys know. I mean, they could probably tell you some really good stories.
So now. Now, go ahead.
So, the fire truck discussion is very interesting and it's sort of pertinent to what we have to do here. We need to plan on spending a bunch of money somehow, either raising it, pay cash, or finance it. And I think that's more important than exactly what fire truck we get. It's pretty well established. We do need to buy a truck. We have money in the capital budget for down payment. And then we have to figure out what to do. We haven't saved money over the years towards this truck. So I think there's some argument towards financing it anyways, because we're going to be saving towards all of our other fleet vehicles, or most of our other fleet vehicles that we foresee. And the part of the theory that I think back to is you save for some of your expenses, which is people paying ahead of time. It's some of those people may not receive the benefit of that piece of equipment that we buy. Whereas if we finance, it does cost more over time, but the people who benefit from having that equipment are the ones paying for it. So I don't see financing some of our capital expenditures as being a bad thing. Interest rates are not favorable right now, but that may change over the next few years. We don't know. That being said, Julie, when you were laying out the numbers for your projections, there were a lot of numbers that just kind of went by. Do you have a written projection of like how we might use the fund balance? How much? If we use the 800 like is in the proposed budget here, that gives us what, 87 days? 83.
No.
Okay, that
A zero, if we use the 800,000. We have 102 days, 102 and a half days
left
left.
in the fund balance.
Yes, if we took it down to no increase at all, we'd only have 83 days left.
And our target level is 60.
Our target level is
60 to 90.
60 to 90.
Is what our policy.
So
I don't, first of all, I'll just say I don't understand a lot of this, but I don't understand if you have a policy, why don't we follow it? Why don't we, well, I would make a motion, and it's not in my position to make it, but go to 90 then, be conservative. You say you're supposed to use 60, have a 60 to 90 day, take up to leave 90 and put the rest toward the budget. That would be my suggestion, because you have an ordinance that says that. You're not gonna follow it, why have the ordinance?
Scott, you have something? I did not. I agree with Ben. Whoever wrote the select board put this ordinance in place, correct?
It's not an ordinance.
Yeah.
Policy.
Apologies for the wrong word.
Yeah.
But who wrote the policy?
The select board.
I don't know when it was.
2018, I think.
4 months.
It was just,
Yeah,
Just-
and it was because,
right,
because there was a time that the balance, because somebody spent everything.
when I
But-
first,
Wasn't me.
when I
No, it was not you.
when I first got on here, it's like 42 to 45 days, that's all we had.
It was,
Or actually, it's probably less than that.
I was on the board then. It was, 2015. Yep, 2000, January of 2015.
Does anybody even want to entertain talking about any places we might want to cut?
Oh, yeah. Sounds good.
Well, I just wasn't sure which way we were going.
But we're gonna cut it now too.
Well, I have some things.
So, well. Well, we're gonna cut it down too.
You mean the 19.8, what do you want to get it to, right?
Yeah.
I,
15%?
What are you gonna use out of, like Ben said, use out of the fund balance, we'll get it 90 days, so leave us.
I would defer to Peg on that.
How much money would we have in reserve? It'd be 2.7.
No, no,
No.
if we take it down to 90 days, 90-day level would be what?
Three in the front there.
1.1 million, over the 90 days.
Right.
So are you asking what the tax increase percentage would be
No.
if we go to 90 days? Take it
Yeah.
down to 90 days?
90
yeah.
days. You're at. Have 2,743,515, correct, Peg?
That's what we have
She's
in
doing it.
reserve.
Yeah,
in
2,743,515.
Our current balance, we have to 30.3, well, that's, you gotta.
3.9. 3,922,000. But that says 23.
Yeah.
And
That's our current balance right now, so
Well,
almost.
Well, that's our current balance as of 6/30/2023. So there's probably a little play in there. There's like,
Goes more. No, so we actually got close to 1.2.
1.79 million.
No, 1.2.
Yeah, 1.2.
so,
1.117.
yeah, you would, yeah, 1.17, you would use. So,
So what would that?
So we take that difference and use that towards budget, and you take it to 90 days.
What are we gonna do next year? That's my worry.
Well, we don't know. We don't know what we're gonna do. Don't know.
And how much again have we been putting in? Do we have an average of what we've put into the fund balance?
so we've
No,
been,
we've taken about 272,000, like, since almost every year that.
But but money goes.
no, she's asking about the
How much
unexpended.
goes Into, what do we put into the fund? On an average?
Hold on, I closed that out because I thought Julie would have that in front of you. the-
I have it, it's on my desk. Hey, Pam, if you run back to my office, it says FB and folded papers right on my desk.
Go ahead. In the meantime,
In the meantime,
you were gonna talk about suggestions about cutting in certain areas. It might then be better to have that conversation before we have the second conversation.
why don't, I think people are leaving, so why don't we take a break?
We're just taking a break. Yep, well, we take 5-minute break. Back on? Okay.
So where were we? Jan asked me a question of what we put away. So last year, based on our expenditures versus revenue, we were able to generate 927,000 fund balance. My fear this year is I think we'll do, like I said, mine was conservative at 454,000. Some of that is because we didn't fill some positions in 2023, so that left some overage in some people's budgets. Because we didn't have, like, the police budget had a nice little surplus left over. EMS had a little bit, Public Works had some because they were down so many people. We're now looking at least in Public Works, they're at full ranks till the other day. And we've had some other changes that make me nervous, and if we do hire two coming up, we're not gonna generate that same fund balance the next year. And I think you're hearing the common theme between Peg and I next year, because we're your financial people who are supposed to remind you that there is a next year. But one of the things that I think, you may have to consider are cuts too. So I played a little bit with that, and I talked to my department heads.
Do we have an average of what we've put in over the last 5 years or period of time? It used to, that was part of the budget conversation, I remember, Ted Moe.
So
always.
if you look at what we put in, I'm sure Peg can do this quicker than I can. But I mean, from 2017 to 2018, we only put in a little less than $60,000. And from 2018 to 2019, we put in 75,000. And it wasn't until 2020 to 21 where we had that huge savings, and that's where most of our fund balance came from. That was
because we cut the budget.
because you
by
cut the
$500,000.
budget.
Yep.
So that's where we went from 1,108,000 up to 3,025,822. Last year we added, 175, and then the next year we added right around
716,000.
right. So,
I think some of that too is probably reval too,
right, but
the reval.
no, that doesn't build fund balance. So fund balance is generated,
Yeah, so that's it.
fund balance is generated when you do not expend your expenditures and your revenues. That nexus is what builds your fund balance, which is why we always say, Peg and I always say we're conservative with our revenue. Because we want to build fund balance. Obviously, we've done a really good job at building fund balance.
Yeah.
But 2020 was a big portion of the, so if you just want to hear about where the cuts that were talked about. So John Daigle and I had a very long conversation today. He's now down one employee.
That was quick.
He cursed himself. We'll be putting that out, but he said that, although it pains him realistically, Bob had asked him the question, can you get this all done this year? He said, if you take $200,000 out of paving, he could live with that.
But how are we gonna save?
The 25%,
Right.
or $25
yeah,
a ton or whatever is,
$25 a
it's
ton.
about 25% per ton.
That's the problem.
And just pushing it down the road.
Well, again,
Just do it this year, you'll have to do it next year.
again, that is what I had to meet with all of them and ask them, and that was
That's his recommendation.
his recommendation. If you had to cut someplace,
I could see it if we wasn't gonna have it done. I guess my question is, we've been trying to get it done, it hasn't been done.
and you
Are
want
we
it
gonna,
done,
are we gonna
Right,
get it done?
right.
If it's not gonna get done, then I don't have a problem cutting, but if it's not, if it's gonna get done, then we should be doing it. Because we're gonna save 375,000.
Yeah,
but again, these are the conversations we need to have as a group, and I'm proud of my department heads that they're offering something to you.
Val, you have something?
Yeah, go ahead.
So just for clarity, he said he'd get it done with 200,000 less.
He said that if we needed to cut someplace, that's where he would take it from.
And he'll still get it done.
He'll get
No,
$1.2
no.
million,
12 months.
$1.3 million.
Again, like Bob said, then we're pushing it off.
You are.
And then next year, what's happening next year?
And if you live on that road and it's not getting done, you're gonna be very.
Well, I'm giving you options. I'm not saying any of them are easy or good.
This is this is what he's offering out.
This is what he's saying.
That's why I want to clarify.
Right.
Val?
So with regards to that, I think the two questions I have is if we take $200,000 out of the paving budget, how much are we actually saving?
You're not,
Right.
Because
because you're
we
getting the
lose
deal,
the-
you're losing the deal,
at 1.5
right?
million and we're going down 200,000, but our rate goes up. So we
Right.
may be spending, we're actually getting twice as less.
It's,
The technical term, yeah.
again,
It's half as much.
half as much, but it's
Half and half as much.
that, when I talked to him, that was.
Yeah.
You know, that was the one, and I'm giving you information.
And the other side of that is if he's down a man and,
But that
As
doesn't
a
mean we
prop-
can't get one
right,
or
but
woman.
if he can't do all the prep work for the entire, what was it, 15 miles? If he can't get that done in time to get it paved this year, where does that leave us with
He
the
will-
paving?
I-
Do we get credit for next year paving, or how does that?
I don't know how that works, but
One at a time.
if the budget isn't cut, I assure you, he will get it done. He has planned to get it done. They're already cutting,
Yeah,
so
okay.
200,000.
that would be 200,000. That's,
That's what.
I would be in favor of not cutting the budget for this line item. One of the big ifs in paving is the price of asphalt, which is contingent on the price of fuel oil, but crude oil. Who knows what's gonna happen after this next election? Prices are relatively stable now. We just have had a price increase in gas, I don't know, about 20 cents a gallon over the last month or two. I think if we don't do it now, we're cutting off our nose to spite our face.
Brandon?
I'm not quite sure what Mike was just saying, but how much are we saving if we spend the 200,000 now?
375.
375,000.
That's
Well,
what
it
we
doesn't
figured.
make any sense to
Cut
To
the
spend-
200,000,
to
just not-
pay 375 to save 200.
It will probably actually be more than that because you're not getting $100
Exactly.
per ton.
Right.
You're getting charged $125 per ton.
Yeah, so you get less pavement.
probably
you're
be,
still gonna
there-
get less
probably
pavement.
be a different nexus because we're not gonna have as many tons, but yeah, I see what you're saying.
So actually, it's gonna be a lot more than that. It's gonna
Right,
cost
So
us.
the road distance paved gets cut even
Shorter.
more. Yeah.
So John did assure you, no matter what.
That's
If it
my
doesn't get
only-
cut-
I will
If it doesn't get cut, he will.
I will
get it
ask
done.
Will.
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, Will.
Making sure you're awake.
Had a conversation with you about this today, and if we leave the 200,000 in the budget, are you reasonably comfortable that you can get it done?
I am comfortable we can get it done.
And he's
I
the
mean,
deputy.
we really need to we need to catch up. I mean, that's
Yes,
just my opinion.
Thank
I'd rather
you.
get back on track, so it's not such a large number every year. It's a more consistent number.
And last year, Will, we didn't do any paving, correct?
We haven't for a few years now, because that's always the first thing to get cut every year during budget.
Well, not this year.
Thank you, Will. Didn't mean to
You're
put you on the spot, but.
Oh, that's okay. I'm sorry, you're muted, Julie.
That was good. You're wonderful, Will. Thank you. So that was one. I talked with the chief. He said that the chief of police, John Lash, if we wanted to, fund the one position for 9 months instead of 12, that would probably be doable, because by the time the budget's approved and everybody goes through the process, he wouldn't be hiring until September. So that was
That makes sense.
a potential option.
What's the savings on that?
Peg,
25.
We didn't model that one.
we modeled half. It was late in the day when I talked to him.
You have I didn't save those. I printed.
No, I know.
those.
Could you, do you have your computer in
I
front of you?
do. I do.
She can model that for you.
But I think I wrote it on your handout if you still have it. I wrote the change.
I think you took that handout back from me.
All right.
And the other is, the position in the administration office.
Delaying that. Or just not do it.
That's up to you guys. We can delay it.
That was the training
If
position.
you wanted, we can do 9 months, we could do 6 months.
How long is it gonna take us to hire somebody to be in that position?
Kind of an unknown.
It's an unknown.
Would be nice to have someone to see the different parts of a year, but it's unknown.
We probably won't advertise until July 1st, I think is correct.
Well, we're not gonna advertise till July because we just don't want to
So even if you,
start now and then have it not pass.
One point with the personnel positions, if we fund them for a full year this year,
that money goes. to
and
the fund
they're
balance
not
next year.
filled for 9 months or for 3 months or whatever, that money does go back into the undesignated fund balance, so we could use it next year. So that's one way to look at
Yeah,
with
that's
the
one way to look at
personnel. The paving, the roads won't work.
it. John
That
just
way.
wanted to remind everybody there were 2 positions, so he could fill one in July. He would just wait for the second one. If we get really lucky and get candidates, like he said, he's not gonna advertise till, nothing's gonna be advertised until the budget passes. So he would have one that he could fill, right away, and then the second one, he just wouldn't fill until technically it's October 1st, end of September, October 1st.
With the police, the 8th police officer position. That was not requested in his initial request, and we discussion add that in. One thought I had a couple nights ago at about 3 o'clock in the morning is, what if that was a separate line item in the ballot?
I personally would not do that. I think it's a full public safety, it's a full complement. I think that's how it should be. Each department, I would hate to start voting on positions. We've always had that 8th officer. Then we got away from it. We went back to it. We worked really hard to get there.
I agree, it's very desirable.
I, you
I
know,
would like it.
yeah,
Reduces our overtime too.
Yeah,
It saves us on overtime.
but I'd
okay.
be,
I just want
it
to,
sets a very dangerous, because then you're actually technically voting for. Then I could see it being, well, let's vote for people, and that becomes complicated.
yeah, in this case, it's an unfilled position. We're voting on it.
Then we should do the same for public works.
Yeah, I think
Hmm.
we shouldn't be getting into department personnel issues.
Okay,
I was just saying, if you're gonna do it for one, do it for. Gotta be fair.
So if I change the police to half year benefits, half year that vacant position, and the one that's in the finance department, I did the same to both.
And this is half year, not,
Half, yeah. The new police department budget would be $1,274,758. Which is an increase over last year of $144,591. A 12.7% overall increase from the prior year for that department. And then if I did that for finance, the new total would be $271,503. The increase in dollar amount over last year would be $34,657, and that's a 14.63% change from the prior year. And then the bottom line would be a 16.75% increase over last year.
instead of 19.8.
Correct.
So what would the dollar amount of each of those savings be? The police officer at 6 months and the finance person at 6
It
months?
only
It was 60 some odd thousand.
So, yeah, I had written it down. I don't have it. The benefits tab is separate from
Okay,
the operating account, but I could tell you in a second.
It's roughly around 60,000 for police.
so it would be, if you did 9 months, you could say if it's 60,000 for police, then that
Half
would
of
be
that.
30.
Yeah,
You'd save 30 in the police department, and then whatever the amount was for 6 months of the administration person.
So now with that 15.75%, now when we look at
Fund balance.
balance utilization,
Where do you want to be? Do you want to be at 0? I guess that's what we have to ask you.
zero increase,
0
tax
increase?
increase. I don't think it's a reasonable.
so then we have to cut $524,000 out of this budget at this point.
Or use.
Or use,
so we
Fund
need
balance.
$524,000 of fund balance.
Right.
What do we think the taxpayers are going to have for an increase in taxes? That's the real question, right?
so it wouldn't be 524, it'd be 800,000 plus 5.
Plus 524. Yeah,
So we'd be using 1,324,000.
So you'd be at roughly 87 days versus 90 days.
Did you want me to change the fund balance number to see what?
Yeah, if you use 1,324,000.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
$1,324,000.
dog hairs or?
Doll hairs. When my daughter was little, she used to say, I need 20 doll hairs. Because some uncle of hers thought it was really funny to give her $20 bills.
That's what
She'd be like, I need 20 doll hairs.
You
So
should
she was
ask for
gonna buy-
them too.
Uncles do stupid things. Have John.
Oh, sorry,
You don't-
I was waiting for Peg.
Sorry.
Right,
Stop
whenever
stop
you
making
are.
a comment, what do you think our citizens are gonna wanna see? Our taxpayers want to see.
Well,
And they're gonna see an increase.
oh,
School going up 10% and county going up 9%.
So that's 19% right there.
Be nice to be able to say the town. And then
just flat line,
pretty
roughly,
flat.
pretty close. Because we know the school's going up. And I won't say this, but we're gonna look like heroes. But are we gonna look like zeros next year?
Not
We
necessarily.
don't know that.
We don't know that.
I understand that, right?
So I'm still showing that we're $881, over last year with the property tax, but anyway.
So we could put that extra 881 in, Peg, so it's zero.
But there again, like you said, we don't know what our fund balance is gonna be at the end of 2023, correct?
2024. Yeah.
24, sorry, 24.
What I'm saying is, I think it's 454,000.
Oh,
So
I
that's-
did the math for Jan. I think I closed it out, but. Sorry, let me open it up again. The last 5-year average is 549,000, and then a 10-year average is 321,000.
But what was we gonna save? You said you had that number. Between the police department and the 6 months.
Oh, hold on. That was fund balance. That was looking at the fund balance changes.
Oh, I guess it really doesn't matter, because you gotta go back to what the fund balance is, where we would be for a number of.
You just gotta tell us what you wanna be at, and I'm hearing zero. So that makes it easy for us.
And if we could potentially have 400 and some odd $1,000 left over for 2024s. That's something we have for a goal for next year.
So
Towards next year.
what do you wanna do in the police department? Do you want the 9 months or the 6 months? I thought,
I would go 9 months, because if it's not filled, it goes back
Back to
in.
fund balance.
We haven't
Right.
spent the
So
money.
so
figure
we,
it at 9 months, Peg,
Okay,
on both
both positions.
positions.
And the finance person, I think, would benefit for the extra 3 months.
Well,
That the
If
town would
this-
benefit.
When this person retires, or potentially goes down to 1 or 2 days, we gotta have somebody in that position.
That knows.
I mean, that's not even a
Yeah.
option. Right, so to have somebody in the training and already doing that,
And I'm not sure, I think that saving, what, $25,000 for the 3 months of the finance position is worth it if that extra experience will help things function smoothly in the office.
Does anybody know what 2024's Social Security cost of living adjustment is going to be percentage-wise? Because I think that would be a good target, a maximum target for an increase in our budget.
I do think 0 is
About
unreasonable.
3.5% already as of January 1st, 2024. What was it?
That was,
3.5%.
that was from last year.
Is that about right?
That was from last year.
3.2%.
3.2.
I think that's a good target. They're getting more money.
So we'll take it all. That's good.
Brandon says, thank you for that increase.
So we know that, what did the
Yeah, I
school
don't-
adopt last night? We pegged and tried to get those numbers.
I didn't hear
He
anything.
was
from
just,
them
he was
today.
already had gone on vacation with
Yeah,
that. three-
the town specific assessment was hard
I
to
don't
get.
know. I didn't get to that part of it. I was trying to watch it online.
We know the counties
Nine,
9. And the school had said,
overall 10, what I read, but when I read that, I didn't hear it.
well, overall 10 would be that 10% split throughout the town.
How,
So it's at 75% funded for those two positions. I'll need to take another $47,833. If you wanted to, me to add that to the fund balance to keep it at 0. We just increased the budget by $47,833.
so what's that put us for days in reserve?
Julie, can you do that? Did that one before.
I can do that. So what is our?
know our fund balance is actually higher than what it is.
Okay,
seeing
what
here,
was,
right?
what are we using?
Hold on a second, just trying to do that, while you do that. So I have us using 1,372,714.
Zero. Yeah, I'm sure it's zero.
Like you said, you believe our fund balance is obviously higher than this number, because this was based on 6/30 of twenty
Yes,
twenty-three.
yes, I do.
And Julie said that we roughly around 450,000 is what they're estimating left over from 2024.
And that's very conservative.
And that's conservative, but so that's what we potentially have to work with for next year. Which is only,
That's the addition, that's not the total.
We're down to 78.37 days.
We ought to be shooting for 90 days of fund balance.
I like that idea.
What would the percent tax increase be at 90 days of fund balance utilization? Yeah, fund balance remainder.
So, hold on.
Dave, did you calculate that?
I calculated at 78.3. What did you
I had
calculate?
83.
90 days.
Okay, she has 83. Okay, so we're
Sounds
back to the
more like
83.
83.
Okay, so we're at 83. So we need, you want 7 more days?
90 days.
So Peg,
90 days is another,
How many more days we want?
Set-
Another
7 more days.
$210,000.
So close. All right, so what do you want, where do you want me to go?
At 90 days,
Percentage
what would our
of tax
percentage be
increase?
increase?
While she's doing that, if there is a change in the net valuation of the town, property values, that also influences
The mill rate?
the mill rate and taxes per person, right? Per household.
So the only,
If
So
the
let's-
amount, the total
typically,
amount we had to raise. stayed the same.
typically a third go up, a third go down, and a third stay the same. That did not happen this last go around.
Everybody know.
However, if we're going to talk about revow, it's basically the property that he would do this time.
The land.
The- sorry, the land.
Yeah, we've done that.
And honestly, he's only seeing that trend with waterfront.
Right. Hmm.
Yeah, I think you're on the one. Yeah.
Sea rise, the acreage in the water.
Your house, very. Sound like ours, doesn't it?
I don't know if I'm doing it right, actually.
What do you need from me,
How much-
Peg?
Much over 90 days do we have to work with? 1.174 million.
We had 1.179,
179.
yeah.
And that
And we already thought about doing 1.372, so I think that's why I kind of cramped.
Yep, 1.79 million off the budget.
Off the 90 days,
Yeah.
Yeah, 1.17, yes.
right. So you just want me to plug that number in?
Yep, yep. See what our percentage would be.
I overthought.
Been a long day. Sorry. And I know
Great discussion.
but well, I hope everybody appreciates the discussion. I know I'm on the losing end of this deal, but I feel like that it's my responsibility to give you all the options, even though they might be uncomfortable and it makes you have a discussion.
That's a 6%, 6.17% increase.
Opposed to a 19%.
Right.
Yeah, $193,259.
But it's more than like the 3.2 that Mike suggested.
Yeah, but it's less than the school, but it's less than the county.
6 point,
By a
what percent?
substantial amount.
6.1.
6.17%.
Take that payment. Get it down to zero.
We're definitely not getting down to backhoe for at least another 10 years.
Okay,
I think
Dan, you already made a motion.
Oh, I'm not. I just- Had Moses come from them, I'm just,
Okay, we gotta do it first.
I spoke out of turn.
No, you're good.
It's all right, it's fine.
So I think what we're looking at is dropping the fund balance down to 90 days.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'd make that motion. to drop
Well,
the
wait,
balance
there's two questions.
Yeah.
Do we, the personnel cuts that we were gonna make, plus the increase in the fund balance, are we doing both? Or are we doing just the 90 days?
The way we've structured it with the 90 days is the personnel are still there.
Personnel.
For 9
Wait,
months.
Haven't,
for 9 months.
75% of the year.
have you,
That's what I did. 75%
Okay.
of the year. 9 out of 12 months. Yeah.
Okay, so the motion would be the 9 months out of the year plus the 90-day fund balance. That's the some of the motion.
Stick to
as
the.
long as it's understood.
Could you? Why don't you divide it? Just divide the question, do the
Two questions.
Do the
Two questions.
9 month
All right,
thing
fine.
and then do the.
I'll
budget.
make a motion to reduce the assistant and the fire policeman to 9 months instead of 12 months funding.
Is there a second? Second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Abstain.
I
4-0 and 1 abstention.
Okay, the budget committee, we have a motion to reduce the 8th police officer and the finance extra position to 9 months. Thank, ooh. Any discussion? All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1 absent.
All right, now we'll move on to the next motion. Mike, would you like to make that?
To reduce the fund balance, the unrestricted fund balance to 90 days as of this date.
Is there a second? Or do we want to go to the end of fiscal year 2023?
That's where we would go to.
That's the numbers.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
How would you determine that? With
I'd ask
a number, you
Well, no, we should go from,
need a number
we should
amount,
go
right? A
from-
dollar amount.
well, we know what that 90 day is.
Okay.
It's 2.743515, that's what we want to have left.
Based on the projected amount or
No,
how,
no, that's the
cash in the
amount.
hand.
That's at the end of 2023's
but
budget.
we don't know how much exactly is in there. So
But
that's,
that's irrelevant.
You can't do that.
We can't
You
do
don't know how
that,
much exactly it's gonna be left over in 2024 budget.
right? So we have to go by our last known number.
right. But we need a dollar amount, not a 90-day.
Well, we
You know the balance, you know the balance.
Thanks
They're
for
gonna
giving
give it
us
to
that
you.
number. Thanks for
We're
giving us
gonna
that
have to
number.
re-vote on police, finance and revenue as a total, but I'll give you the revenue. It's under the other section, the utilization of fund balance,
Mhm.
and then it transfers in. So under, oh, actually, we should all be on that page 63 in revenue. Utilization of fund balance, was changed to $1,179. What, I'm sorry, $1,179,455. And then if you add that with your transfer in for the highway block, the total under other is $1,265,823.
Could you do those numbers one more time, please?
Yeah, fund balance, utilization will be $1,179,455.
Okay,
Yeah, so it's like 1,179,455.
Thank you. And the total,
That will be 1,265,823.
and then that changes our revenue total, right?
Yes. Then that's what you have to vote on too. So the total, the new revenue total will be 4,930,662.
Say that again.
Sure. It will be 4,930,662.
That's what's,
That's your total revenue.
That's the total revenue up at the top.
So that would be your motion, Mike, or my,
So which line item do I do? Do I do utilization fund balance at 1179455, or do I do the 4930662 figures? Which one do I nominate?
You've only voted on the total revenue.
so I will say the 4,930,600.
Right, make a motion to raise 4,930,622.
660.
$662.
Is there a second? Second. Any more discussion? Yeah. Well,
4,930,662.
Well,
okay, so we did have a quick review of all of these revenue figures. Are there any that we didn't discuss much of them as we went through? Are there any that anyone thinks are worthy of discussion on an individual basis? There was one that Peg, I forget which one, thought the investment income at 65,000 might be too high, especially since we're utilizing more fund balance. Do you have an idea of what that might?
It was my best guess. I put it in there knowing we were anticipating using 800,000 fund balance. So
Okay, so now that we're using how much more? 500, almost 600, well, 500 and can't read my writing. 500 plus thousand more for the fund balance, our investment income is going to be somewhat lower.
possible.
Should we adjust that figure? Which will change our,
Bob has a comment.
go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, I don't think we need to adjust anything because we're still really conservative.
they're all
We don't have
projections.
tax stabilization money coming in,
Yeah,
and we don't know how much, but we know it's coming in.
okay,
So I just,
And if you look at it, we've only budgeted 15 in 2023 to get 95. We only budgeted 33 in 24, and we've got already got 150 year to date.
this year we have a lot of money in it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
It's a
sure.
lot of interest.
Yeah. Okay, and I'm just throwing it out there before we vote on the total. Are there any other items that,
They've conservatively increased it small amounts, so we're getting some return.
Why you have such a great fund balance that you were able to use?
yeah, who, thank you, Julie?
Thank you for the work.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, how about if we
So
budget
we got a
more
motion on the
parking,
table in a second.
parking violations?
Yeah.
Get zero in
Okay,
there. We
it's on the
can,
table in a second. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Will? Do we lose you, Will?
Bill?
It's 4-0. No Will, so I don't know if he's gone or.
Will? You okay, Will?
You're a cat, with my Will.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm looking type, having mic issues.
Okay,
ah,
Typed yes.
okay, so it's
Okay.
5-0.
Thank you.
Okay, the budget committee has for revenue for 2025, $4,930,662. We have a motion.
Second?
Thank you. Any more discussion? All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. One absent.
LD one will have to be on the. Yeah, part. There was a bill in there to try to get rid of that.
I saw that.
Towns
I've seen that a
wanted
few
to
times.
not go worry about having to do that, increase their taxes without having to ask. It died.
So we are at the 6.1%,
6.17.
6.1.
6.17.
Yep, 6.17%.
Okay.
I want zero, but pretty impressive. For the amount of stuff we're gonna do. Yeah. Yeah, no.
You need to revote on the police and the
Police
finance.
and finance.
Let's do that.
Those departments themselves.
What page of the roll pay?
Hold on. Where's my cheat?
Oh, I know, we're doing a lot of adding of other police officer. Another admin. Yep, and doing a lot of all that.
So finance
Police.
is on page 7.
Oh.
The general fund. And police is 1. And the expense.
So what's the finance
Total?
No. I had a Tootsie Roll, I'm fine.
The finance total is 289,431. An increase over last year of $52,585, and I can repeat this if you like.
Yes, please. I don't.
We're gonna have to make motions on it, correct? Right.
Oh,
What was the number?
289.
289,431.
That's what we're making the motion. Would somebody like to make that motion?
I'll make that motion. For finance at 289,431.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? How about you, Will?
We're gonna have to.
Type away, type away.
Yeah, he's gonna type. Poor guy. He can't talk.
Yes.
Yes.
4, 0, and 1 abstention. Budget committee.
Okay, we have $289,431 for finance customer service. Okay. Scott, you're getting in on the first motion now, making a motion. It's great. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. One absent.
Police department.
Total is on page 22.
Yep, see that.
The new total for the police department is 1,304,663. 304,663.
Somebody like to make a motion on the select board?
I'll make a motion for $1,304,663 for the police services.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? How about you, Will?
I vote yes on the police department.
Okay,
Awesome.
That's five.
550.
and the budget committee, we got $1,304,663. Thank you, Ben.
Second that.
Okay,
Go ahead.
Jan, you want to take a second? Okay, thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. One absent.
Right now. So what else do we need to vote on? Is that it?
I just want, did everybody see the warrant in front of them?
Yep. Yeah.
did you notice everything is broken out? And it says why, and the changes are in yellow.
Is this how the warrant article will come to this voters?
Well, it'll be in like what you normally see, but
It won't be in a color that.
it's not gonna be in a color like that, no. It'll be all, but we highlighted like what got changed, which were obviously numbers, but that, like, if there's an increase of 119,617 from initial request by select board, budget committee and department. Decrease of 21,701 from initial request by select board, budget committee and department. So we put the increase and decrease. If it was left alone, we didn't put any. Does that make sense to all of you? And you'll notice that all the social services and the community service articles were separated.
I really like this. Really nice.
So will that change, like the police department, can we just change that?
Yes, yeah,
So that-
Those will
that-
change all that.
yeah. This is just a draft to show you.
Okay,
it's a draft.
they'll change the numbers.
Yeah, they'll change the numbers. It's just to show you
How you're doing it.
how you guys wanted it done.
10 pages.
Well, I don't know that it'll be 10 pages when it's printed on the sheets.
They're longer, so yeah, they're-
They're a little longer.
Yeah, they look good.
How about on the, I mean, this is kind of a semi-serious thing, but on the surface paving program, we have an increase of $30,000 from the initial budget. And we could possibly explain that this will leverage 350 or 375,000
I don't know what's that.
savings. Cause that would sound really good.
It would.
We haven't.
And that's why-
Yet, though.
Right, right.
Yeah.
No, I'm not serious, but it would be nice.
In the
to get
voter
the word
guide,
out.
I mean, here's another, I'm gonna throw this out there to you guys.
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw this out here because if you guys would like to do this, I think it would be a great idea. If any of you want to form a little subcommittee, or if you want to do it as a group, Pam puts out an amazing voter guide. If the budget committee wanted to put together something about each article and
Or even just general comments.
even just general comments,
Summary.
a summary for the questions and the funding. I think that would be a fabulous idea, and if it was coming from the budget committee and the select board together, I think it would be a fabulous idea, and we would be more than happy to include it in the voter guide. That way it doesn't make this too long, but then they have the voter guide they could look at.
Well, fine debate.
That's an interesting idea.
Well, you get your marching orders.
I'm thinking,
It
what
was
is,
your idea.
what is the timeline
We need it by-
requirement?
Well, we need it before the, once the ballots are received, then we would need it, because we could put it on the website. We could even do it earlier than the ballots
Is
are
it 30
received.
or 45 days?
I don't
I
remember.
think it's 45 days.
It's just a suggestion if you wanted to do that.
Thanks, good
I
idea.
think the concept is great.
Sorry, John.
I can't see John. down
I
there.
can't see John's volunteer.
But, don't we'll have a public hearing in May also.
May 14th.
Yes, but the absentee ballots could go out before May 14th. Technically,
Well, that's what I'm saying, but May 14th, public hearing, hopefully. we can encourage attendance to that.
right, but we can do that too, but I mean, I'm just saying, if you want to be included in the voters guide, she gets that done.
Actually, it's May 7th.
Oh, that's right, you changed
That's
that,
right, May
right.
7th. We
So
changed
May
it.
14th at school.
Right. I'm glad you mentioned
So-
Recommend everybody attend.
I would say, I'll check with Pam, but I would say to work on it this month would be important.
To get it done by the end of the month.
If you wanted,
Is there any way to? You know it. Be interesting to know how many hours we've worked on this thing. To get, so people realize we need to just come in here. I'll tell you this,
Probably 12 hours.
some of our counterparts in other towns, it's a matter of a few hours of them getting together and figuring out a budget.
But they don't have a budget.
I'm pretty sure that can be tracked.
We
pretty
can track
easily.
it.
Easy enough,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
Count up the YouTube.
It's on our time
Actually, you gotta look
sheet.
It won't be on our time card. We don't
On
have.
our time sheet.
That's on the YouTube videos. too.
Yeah, we've done the YouTube videos also.
Yeah.
Bill?
I just wanted to make sure Peg had everything and voted that she needed voted on.
I believe so. And, I actually sent the new summaries to the printer. If you want, I'll go get.
Are you good? Everything is. We've
Yeah,
done
but
all
I'm
the-
happy if you guys leave with what we did tonight.
That would be-
We did
that would
actually
be
do
great.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You don't
I
want
just want to make sure we voted on everything.
I don't have anything missing.
So on that note, I want to thank you very much, Paige, for your hard work.
Mhm.
I'll
and your
second that.
Damn good job. And Julie, you too.
Thank you.
You've done a hell of a job since you've been here.
Thank you. I
Val?
very much appreciate that.
Just a straw poll, I think that some comments of the notable parts of what we've done here would be nice to include in a voter guide. And is there any interest in getting together for some meetings to kind of just lay out some of the highlights of what fun we've had here the last few weeks? I mean, would anyone be interested in, I would say, 2 to 3 meetings to? Wow,
These are all recorded, so if they want to watch it, they can watch it.
yeah,
But they're not gonna, they like the voter guide, I'll be honest with you.
yeah, and I guess what I'm envisioning is maybe a half a dozen lines explaining things like the paving amount and what we have
Like
to do
why you
about a
reduce
fire
what,
truck. that's-
Maybe increase them,
Yeah,
that would be
Yeah.
good. I mean, I don't know if you'll need that many meetings, but
but I'm not sure.
I mean, there's like
this.
3 big
Yeah, it is. They all have dates on. them.
budget and those public ones that
Yeah.
highlights.
Helps me.
We increased EMS.
What's that?
we-
Do you like
the first
tracking the change?
Police by an officer, and we increased paving. We did chop some things off, but those are the big items. I mean.
Okay, maybe 2 meetings.
It's like you don't have a lot to talk about.
I don't-
Val.
Can you do it Zoom?
Mr. Budget
Do a
Chairman,
Zoom meeting?
Why doesn't everybody send you their comments and then you could send it to
That might be a good way to start.
an email?
Yeah.
Mr. Budget Chairman, I have the utmost faith in you.
Try to put
Take the
paper.
ball and run with it, and whatever you come up with.
My trip.
But that could be a good idea. We just email you some comments.
I like that as a start. And if
Yeah, I don't think you need a meeting to come in and talk about.
yeah, I think you're right. So can we set up a group email or should we do, are people concerned about their email addresses?
So
And
I just have
should
a
we-
problem with a majority if you can't,
Of running afoul of meeting rules.
so
yeah.
what I would suggest is I'll send out a blind copy to everybody and ask for their comments, and then I will forward that to you.
That sounds fabulous. Thank you in advance. for-
And then you'll give us something back, and then I'll forward that to everybody and they can make their edits. Jan's really good at that. I was hoping she'd help
Comments
you.
and things like that.
It's-
Semicolons.
Yeah,
Okay,
I just wanted to say, I really like the fact that our department heads and some of the others who weren't department heads, but were here, participate. So it's more a working on a working relationship. They're working with us, we're working with them. And there doesn't seem to be any hierarchical kind of thing. It's a working atmosphere.
Yeah.
And a friendly atmosphere. I think, and I think there have been a lot of, been laughter. It's always good when there's laughter in a group meeting or you're getting your work done.
as long as it's
Those
not.
are my quick comments. Don't forget.
Wow.
Oh, there you go.
Good thing, though.
I just want to say, if you guys would like to see things differently or more of something or less of something, I love that kind of feedback.
I think the
So-
only thing next year, I think if I'm still here is, maybe we do set a schedule. Brendan and I talked a little bit about, having a schedule of what we're gonna work on ahead of time. You know, I know we
Thank you
had,
guys for getting the agendas ahead of time.
yeah,
We did.
Yeah, but.
Sort of. I didn't get the
I think it was
later
like 2 days
meetings.
before though.
We kind of jumped
It
around.
was like a couple days before.
It'd be nice to have them 5 or 6 days so that you could concentrate on the 3 or 4 things that you're gonna be dealing, the major things.
As long as you guys aren't so long-winded, I thought.
Sorry. That's fair.
I will do my, we can do it, we will try.
It's the pot calling the kettle black.
We will try.
Brendan,
Brendan, we will try our very best.
Sure.
it took us years to get the book a weekend ahead of time, so it's a baby steps. You'll get it.
Yeah, but I'm getting old.
No,
He ain't got that much time. He's-
That's right, I can't wait.
we can do it, we can do it. I mean,
You know, we
typically,
can do revenues first next year. And then you guys get all warmed up. And then, because the thing that Julie
It's like
balance
eat
is what the
dessert
department heads
first.
need. Then it's winter, so it's hard to get John and, you know what I mean, like John Daigle, because he's got transport station, public works, and the majority of capital. So she just tries your best to work around everybody.
Their schedules.
Yeah,
we'll try, we will try to be better at that.
And I understand where it's coming from, you know.
Yeah.
Some
wanna look
people
at
have a lot of time to sit, read,
yeah.
psychoanalyze everything.
Definitely.
It's in the book. You know, some of us don't.
But we can try that. I have no problem trying that. It's a great idea. Did everybody get the book in time?
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, you skim through it and you know there's gonna be changes, so you don't really set yourself in stone on every single
Hmm.
number. When I skimmed, like I said, I skimmed through it, I didn't analyze it, the detail, because I knew things were gonna change.
So I like looking at different budget books that have the same program, and I think I mentioned this already, that Bob had, gave me Lincoln County's budget, which is how the tabs morphed. But, they don't give you half as much information as we do as far as history goes. It's like budget, and then the one you're in.
I think that's incrementally been beneficial for everybody to see where we are, where we were, and where we're. headed.
I think so,
Oh,
but
absolutely,
I just didn't know if
absolutely.
anybody wanted it differently.
I just want to say, I work with an amazing group of department heads and staff. And Jan, you're right, there's a lot of laughter and cooperation from, we worked really hard to change the culture in the town office and in the budget process. My first budget process when I came here was interesting. Everybody had certain demands that they wanted and we changed a lot that first year. It was really, we changed a lot. And I'm just so proud of the team that we have now. And I thank each and every one of you. I love this. Like I said, it really is my favorite time of the year. And I just think it's great that the town of Waldeboro is represented by such a diverse group of individuals, and you don't always agree on everything, and that's what makes it even better. And people should realize the type of time that it takes to do this, and I agree with you. Other towns do not do what we do. I have a very special budget committee. Because you're gonna come back and we're gonna have a fire truck discussion, and we're gonna keep you working all year long, and when I tell people that, they're like, no, you don't do that. I'm like, yeah, I do. It's not just, 2 nights in March that we get together and talk about this. So thank you very much for your service, Ben. It's been fun.
Are you gonna leave us?
Ben is leaving
Are
this
you
year.
going somewhere else potentially?
But I'm not moving.
He's going to stay home.
And I
Oh,
also,
that's what I get on here this
and
time.
I believe, Bill, are you staying or going?
I'm going.
But Bill is also going, so thank you
Ah.
very much for your service.
Miss you.
Said that, Bill?
He's
He's got
Yeah.
the Historical Society expansion, he's got to work.
Well, now I guess it's up to you to. adjourn.
Okay, well, I would like to echo the thanks and the nice words about the committee. It's great working with everyone. Do we have a motion to adjourn? We have a Second,
I'm not even putting my
any,
hand up.
any discussion? All those in favor? Count carefully here. Okay, the vote's close, but I think it passed.
All right, select board, would somebody like to make a motion to adjourn? All those in favor? Well?
Aye.
Yep.
Bye, Will.
Yay, all right.
Yeah. Daniel, you keep saying
Well,
that.